In just the last couple of decades, we have seen how maritime challenges have evolved. We are now in an era where typhoons are stronger, when the volume of commerce and tourism has kept our waterways busier than ever, when tensions run high in the disputed portions of our maritime territory, and when lawless elements at sea seek to expand their capabilities through technology. In the face of all these, modernization is no longer just an option or a luxury for an organization tasked to save lives and protect the country's seas. Like the Philippine Coast Guard, modernization is in fact a necessity. That truth didn't go unnoticed by the Philippine government, as well as our local and foreign partners. They have all pitched in to help realize our vision of turning the PCG into a 21st century Coast Guard service, capable of confronting modern maritime challenges. This year alone, two 24-meter fast patrol boats from France and two 12-meter high-speed boats from Japan have been added to the PCG's floating assets. They have since been performing well in surveillance and law enforcement operations against smuggling, piracy, and terrorism. The Coast Guard's disaster response and rescue capabilities have also been augmented by the recently delivered 12 rigid hull inflatable boats, 20 personal watercrafts, 20 aluminum boats, the initial 11 of the 73 rubber boats, and over 200 land vehicles. Soon, we expect the French-made 84-meter offshore patrol vessel to patrol the disputed West Philippine Sea and the Benham Rice upon arrival in December, pursuant to President Rodrigo Duterte's directive.
New equipments in your
Another 15-meter boat from Japan and two helicopters are expected to arrive before the year ends, while one more helicopter and 44 small high-speed response boats are scheduled for delivery by next year. To enhance PCG's maritime security and law enforcement capabilities, the PCG has also procured 8 50 caliber remote-controlled weapon systems, additional submachine guns, assault and sniper rifles, 9mm pistols, and night vision goggles. Upgrading PCG's capabilities extend to its operational facilities, with the construction of new Coast Guard bases and lighthouses located in the country's strategic points, and the rehabilitation of several Coast Guard offices and buildings. The PCG has activated 4 additional Coast Guard stations and 48 Coast Guard substations to increase community presence, which has been proven to be a deterrent against nefarious activities at sea. To date, there are 13 district commands, 73 Coast Guard stations, and 343 Coast Guard substations all over the country. The establishment of a Canine Academy within the Clark Special Economic Zone in Pampanga, provided by Clark Development Corporation, is also underway, which is envisioned to be the top canine providing agency not only in the Philippines, but also in Southeast Asia. As the Philippine Coast Guard's facilities and fleet get a boost, so does our workforce. We are stronger by 1,342 additional uniformed and non-uniformed personnel as of the middle of this year. The PCG has also supported to further educate and train thousands of officers and non-officers locally and abroad, so they can improve their skills and update their knowledge on current maritime trends and best practices. We believe that it would be pointless to modernize our fleet and assets if the personnel manning them aren't up to speed. Apart from education and training, morale is just as crucial in strengthening the workforce. That is why the PCG is grateful to our lawmakers and President Rodrigo Duterte for enacting the measure, creating a hospital for the Philippine Coast Guard personnel, employees, their dependents, and retirees. In the near future, Expensive medical bills are one less thing to worry about, and PCG men and women can better focus on their mission responding to maritime emergencies 24/7. We have seen these efforts and investments gain ground this past year. The Philippine Coast Guard's intensified campaign against colorum and unseaworthy vessels yielded fines for violators amounting to more than 2.5 million pesos. With the assistance of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, the PCG has completed the Vessel Traffic Management System in Cebu, which is being utilized to monitor and manage traffic in the congested Mactan Channel. Lighthouses dotting the archipelago's coastline is currently 90.83% operational. They are complemented by 154 buoys installed to different parts of the country to assist mariners in navigating their vessels. Protecting the country's maritime integrity against traditional and non-traditional security threats remain a vital component of the Philippine Coast Guard's mandate. To thwart the intruders, the PCG conducted maritime domain awareness patrols over Bajo de Masinloc and Batanes. The Coast Guard's presence in the southern waters, meanwhile, significantly reduced incidents of piracy, armed robbery, and kidnapping at sea. The PCG has also remained steadfast in applying the full force of the law against all maritime malefactors. Several joint operations with other law enforcement agencies led to the apprehension of suspects and the recovery of 29.2 million pesos worth of illegal drugs. This is on top of the two high-value targets worth 3 billion pesos, which were seized by the newly activated PCG Task Force Aduana 1.0, in cooperation with the Bureau of Customs and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. They also prevented the proliferation of 4 high-value smuggled goods with an estimated market value amounting to 2.5 billion pesos. On the other hand, the PCG's Maritime Security Command and Coast Guard districts busted 18 smuggling attempts with goods worth 142 million pesos. Its intensified operations against the illegal movement of firearms and ammunition resulted in the apprehension of 4 personalities. These efforts seek to cut the supply of firearms to lawless elements and terrorist groups operating in the southern Philippines. Aware of the prominence of the backdoor exit routes Zamboanga and Tawi-Tawi, 2 parts of Malaysia, the PCG focused its anti-human trafficking efforts in this transit point. It paid off with the decline of the incidence of illicit trafficking in person. The PCG was also able to rescue 178 alleged victims of human trafficking. In order to protect the country's marine resources, the Coast Guard waged a war against illegal fishing, which led to the apprehension of 114 fishing boats and the confiscation of illegally caught fish and fishing paraphernalia. PCG personnel also blocked 14 attempts to illegally transport forest products worth 281,000 pesos. Pursuant to the Wildlife Conservation Act of 2002, the Coast Guard intercepted an oceanic container van from Tawi-Tawi containing endangered aquatic products that turned out to be dead sea horses with an estimated market value of 3.3 million pesos at the port of Zamboanga. And just last April and May, the PCG apprehended a total of 25 million pesos worth of giant clams in Davao del Norte. In the course of MARPOL inspections, the PCG has issued 90 notice of violations and have adjudicated 51 marine environmental protection-related infractions. The Coast Guard also received and promptly responded to 26 reported oil spill incidents. The country's location makes us vulnerable to climate change. That is why the PCG took it upon itself to help mitigate the phenomenon by spearheading coastal cleanups and mangrove planting activities. These initiatives collected 143,090 kilos of garbage collected and planted over 50,000 mangrove propagules throughout the country. The PCG, along with the PCGA, also laid modules for artificial coral reef monitoring and mounted of additional reefs at Laia, Batangas. A partnership was recently forged with the Department of Tourism for the implementation of the Intensified Community Assistance, Response and Enforcement, or ICARE, for the prevention of water pollution and promotion of tourist safety. Apart from its own primary mandate, the PCG also extended services where they are needed. PCG personnel and K-9 units helped provide security assistance to airports, resulting to the lifting of security advisory of the United States Homeland Security in Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Meanwhile, 100 Coast Guard's men had a crack at enforcing traffic rules on land after they were deployed to the Interagency Council for Traffic. These measures, though, do not automatically translate to zero maritime accidents. The PCG has received, responded, and coordinated a total of 843 maritime incidents the past year, and managed to save 6,240 lives. When deadly earthquakes shook Itbayat, Batanes 3 months ago, the Coast Guard wasted no time in sending 2 vessels and an Islander plane to bring relief goods and assist in medical evacuations. Additional PCG personnel also came with the vessels to lend a hand to the victims of the tremor. The Coast Guard rendered the same relief and medical assistance to flood victims in Bicol and Zamboanga. We would like to commend everyone who extended help in those emergency situations and made the victims and their family feel that they wouldn't have to face such an ordeal alone. Clearly, the Philippine Coast Guard's role in safety and security of our maritime nation has expanded and evolved in the last 118 years. But some things haven't changed. The discipline and passion to serve the PCG men and women. We salute you all for sticking through the tough times and getting the job done, whatever the cost. The support of our partners from the PCG Auxiliary, foreign governments, LGUs, other government agencies, and of course our national government led by President Duterte has also been constant. Thank you for being one with our vision of building a 21st century Coast Guard, strong enough to shield the nation from fresh maritime challenges and modern enough to adapt to technological advances. You can count that the Philippine Coast Guard will remain steadfast in its commitment to save lives and keep our seas clean, safe, and secure. Thank you. At mabuhay ang tanod baybayin ng Pilipinas.